It's a good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, the hometown commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew a version 1.0 deck list to the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing, and that's what we're looking to do. Here's today. The deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe. Consider checking out the links down in the description below. Our Discord is live. Mikey and I are in there chatting and checking it out. As well as I do have Millsy Brews merch up. I'd love for you to check it out. Let me know what you think. But today, we're doing another Foundations Jumpstart Commander. Today we're looking at Plagon, Lord of the Beach. A 3-mana blue commander, but its loyalty is actually going, or its commander identity is going to be Azorius because of its activated ability. It says whenever Plagon enters, we're going to draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. So we're going to care about toughness in this deck. And then for either of those mana, you can give a creature you control the ability to assign combat damage to its toughness rather than its power this turn. Right. So the goal is to get these creatures down with big butts and let them deal damage equal to their butts, right? And get into big damage. The other thing that we can do is that kind of walls game plan where we can let our creatures um, get in for attacks. Remember that only defenders can't attack, right? Defenders, we would have to use things like High Alert for. Um, but if we just have creatures that have bigger toughness than their powers, they can still attack, and then we can use Plagan to turn that into damage, right? So that's the goal. The goal is to get down big toughness matters creatures, and then try to blink Plagan for card draw, right? The more of these toughness creatures that we have out. There's a lot of ways to take a look at what this means. I think the walls are some of the easiest ways to do it. Creatures with defender that have a big toughness and tend generally have 0 power and just come down for pretty cheap. They're readily available and very cheap for us. The more budget you want to make this deck, great attackers, great blockers cannot attack, but again, you can use other cards in the deck to allow them to be able to attack. But you have a thing like Baldin, Century Herdmaster. This is the universes within version of one of the Street Fighter cards. As long as it's your turn, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Great. That's what we want to do anyway, especially with a lot of our creatures. And then whenever it attacks, up to 100 creatures each get, 100 target creatures each get plus 0 plus X, where X is the number of cards in your hands. You can give all your creatures a big plus 4, plus O, plus, plus O, plus 4, plus O, plus 5 buff, right? And then they're dealing damage equal to their toughness, right? And it's going to get hard for our opponents to deal with. Cephalid Face Taker can't be blocked. At the beginning of combat in your turn, you can never become a copy of another target creature till end of turn, except it has it's a 1/4 and can't be blocked. It's a really interesting ability. I think a lot of times you want to steal your opponent's good abilities, but there's also ways to double up our abilities. Charix, a big 0/17 that can get a little bit bigger if you want it to, but I think with all of our ways to make them just deal damage due to our toughness, it's just going to do a good job at hitting hard on its own as a 0/17 for 4 mana. Right, Plagan makes it a great target to attack. Crystal Barricade, Defender, you have hexproof. All non-combat damage that will be dealt to, prevent all non-combat damage will be dealt to other creatures you control. Just a great way to protect your board. Crystal Barricade's a great new wall for a lot of those decks that really care about the walls. There's Glacial Wall, 3 mana for an 07 with Defender. Again, I think the Defenders can be a trap, but I think the good thing is that they're great defensively. And if you can get them to attack with a few abilities we'll talk about, well, then they're just going to be very difficult for your opponent to deal with. Rune Sealed Wall is 0/6 for 3. Soulless Jailer for a little bit of punishment on our opponents. Permanent cards in graveyards can enter the battlefield, and players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile, just to really shut down graveyard decks, hopefully shut down some of those Cascadey, Exile type decks. I think there's a lot of things that Soulless Jailer does very well for that. Reality Chip can be a big help to us, looking at the top card of our library at any time. And as long as it's attached to a creature, we can play lands and cast spells from the top of our library. So that's really nice, right? Attached to Plagan or something else and just start playing stuff off the top. Wall of Air, Denial, and Frost, all defenders, big butts. Wall of Denial and Air are in the air. Wall of Denial has Shroud, and then Wall of Frost just says whenever it blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. The whole point here is these are great blockers that with Plagan's ability can be a real threat to our opponent if they try to attack, because we can turn that Wall of Denial into effectively an 8/8, right, in the air, which is going to be very tough for most people to be able to get through. And that's where I think the walls really shine in their ability to may not look like a lot until you try to attack through them, and you're going to have a hard time. Wall of Mist and 05. Wall Omens are the walls that we really want, the ones that come in and draw us cards, right? Churn us through things. Wall of Reverence at the beginning of our end step, because you gain life to the target, to the power of target creature you control. So it's not as good, right? We really want it to be toughness, but that's okay. I still think it's important. And again, another big defender that is going to be great for us to block with. But I think here's where this deck really shines: is cards like this. Rasadian Bashir, another way to give all your creatures the ability to assign combat damage to its toughness rather than its power. And that is huge. Whenever it attacks, if you have the initiative, you can double the number of toughness of each creature you control, which isn't, we're not going to have the initiative very often. But the other two cards that I think we really care about: Meekstone, creatures of power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap steps. This can be combined with the fun of something like Authority of the Consuls and Blind Obedience to keep those creatures tapped down, right, until Meekstone leaves the battlefield. And then Highlight. Each creature deals combat damage right to its toughness, but creatures can attack as though they didn't have defender. A key one, now making our walls into an offensive threat and not just a defensive threat, is very important. I think the other place this deck shines are with our really truly one-sided board wipes. Almost all of the creatures in our deck have 1 or 2 power, meaning that things like Dusk to destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater is hopefully going to hit our opponents more than they hit us. Spell the Interlopers. Choose a number between 0 and 10. Destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number. I mean, we pick the lowest we can without hitting of our creatures, or maybe just one of our creatures, and nuke the rest of the board. Fell the Mighty, destroying all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. I mean, there's a world where Fell the Mighty, you pick a wall that has 0, you nuke all of our wraths, our creatures that don't have 0 power, but you nuke the rest of the board, right? And now you're just in great shape, right, to have nuked your opponent's entire board. Battle of the Bywater, same thing, 3 or greater, and we get a bunch of foods for each creature we control. And then Restricted Office, when it comes in, will destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. So again, here's just ways to hopefully have a nice one-sided board wipe to take advantage of our opponents in that way. But I think the other way we want to try to push towards getting access to these cards quickly, I'm sure someone's gonna say, but how are you gonna guarantee you get Meekstone? How are you gonna guarantee you get High Alert and Rashad Bashir and that one that buffs all their creatures' defense? Well, drawing, right? Blinking Plagon to keep drawing. If Plagon is drawing 4 or 5 cards at a time, I mean, you're eventually gonna see them. So you have things like Brago. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you can exile a number of other target non-land permanents and bring them back in. This is great to not only blink Plagon, but maybe any of the walls that draw. Then you can blink them as well. Displacer Kitten says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can blink a non-land permanent you control and bring it back in. So there you go. Blink Plagon, bring it back in, draw the cards. Soul Herder is beginning your end step, you can blink a creature. So there you go. Blink Plagon, and then whenever you blink a creature, Soul Herder gets bigger. So there's an option of creatures that aren't really toughness matters, but they still matter, for us. Splash Portal, Ephemerate, Flicker Fate. These are spells that are just going to take a creature, exile it, bring it back. You can do them on other creatures to protect your creatures, but really you just want to do it on Plague and keep drawing. Ephemerate gets rebound, so we get to do it on our next turn, which is pretty helpful. Momentary Blink, Planar Incision, just again, one-time blinks. Momentary Blink has the flashback as well. Then you have something like Far Traveler. So as long as it and Plague are out, beginning our end step, we can blink a creature, right? Exile 1 tapped creature we control and bring it back. So there's a way to blink Plague right, to draw some cards. Tsuko Mizawa makes all of our creatures with power 1 or less unblockable. Really great with things like Rashad Bashir and Plague's ability to make them hit equal to their toughness. Kaikar, the new Kaikar, can actually blink a creature whenever you cast a non-creature spell. Now, it's not a real blink. It comes back at the beginning of the next end step. But it's an option, right? To even protect Plagan for a turn, or protect maybe your highest toughness or highest power creature if you want to use one of those one-sided board wipes, right? There's a lot of ways that you can look at that blink, even though it's until end of turn. And then Teleportation Circle, right? Each of our end steps, we get to blink a creature. So again, blink Plagan, draw the cards. I know it's sorry, that was our cards to consider. I apologize. I just kept rolling on the thing. Normally what I say on the show is no deck's ever complete. This is our version 1.0 show of the deck, and there's things to consider as we go into testing, which are these 3 cards. I think all 3 of these cards are slam dunks. I just literally couldn't find the spots in the deck for them. I just felt like I was at 103 and 102 at this deck so often I just couldn't find what to cut. So like these are my Tetsuko and Teleportation are probably my 2 cards to come right back in immediately. I literally couldn't find a spot for them. And so I don't know what I would do. Maybe take out another wall or 2 and just put these in. I mean, there's a lot of arguments there. I honestly don't know. The nice part is this deck doesn't have a huge budget to begin with. So you can really right expand that. But the truth is, I think there's so much room in testing to find those things and really take advantage of them. But let's get into our first place test. Keep it a two-lander with that high alert, Azorius Signet, Splash Portal, Propaganda for a little bit of protection, and then an offer can't refuse for some counterplay. So we'll get the Deserter Beach in turn one since it has to come in tapped, unfortunately. I was going to say turn two, we could get that Glacial Fortress in tap, but I think it makes sense to take this Signet because here on turn three, then the Glacial Fortress has to come in tapped, unfortunately. So we didn't get around that. We could bring in one of these creatures, or we could get the high alert down, or we could get the propaganda down. Next turn, if I draw a land, I could go one of these into Plagon to draw. But the kind of good thing is if I get one of these down now and I hit a land, right, then I could do Plagon on one of them and draw two, right? I think there's a lot of arguments for that. I think I'll get the propaganda down just to be safe. Maybe that'll help us into some of the early aggro. I think we will. So this turn, knowing that I have the Splash Portal and I have Plague and Mana, I think I'll just wall plus Thopterix. Now we have two creatures, right, with toughness greater than power. Both flying. Gold Forge Thopterix has lifelink, and then legendary permanents have ward 2. So when Plague comes down, right, it'll get a little bit of that protection. So then here on turn 5, great. Now we hit the mana. That's good. That's good. So now we can Plague and draw 3, right, because we have 3. It's just Mind Stone and then hold up the offer, right? And now, right, our opponents are gonna have to double think about attacking because they're not gonna untap. The propaganda is gonna stop them a little bit from attacking us. And then once we get the high alert down, now we're just in great shape, right? Because now we can attack without our creatures needing to have defender. But the point is now they're just right. They're assigning combat damage equal to their toughness rather than their power. So I think I would put high alert down. And I kind of think I just splash portaling Plague to draw 3, right? See what else we get into. Orthopter's not a bad one there. So now, right, these two can attack if we want them to. They're the 4/4 and a 3/3 if we want. I mean, the Gold Forge could get us a couple life, but I kind of would probably stay blocking until depending on what the board is. If the board's pretty chill right now because our propaganda and Meek Storm are stopping people, I think I'd take the attacks, especially if I have the benefit in the air, right? If this being 7 in the air. But if not, then I would probably just wait back, right? We didn't leave up mana for the offer you can't refuse, but that's okay. Because if anyone wipes the board, we're okay with that. We've still got this set up that it's going to be hard, but if people really need to deal with the artifacts and the enchantments, right? So coming here, turn 7, we're at 7, right? Because we unfortunately missed a land drop. Like I could see Kitten plus Ponder. That would draw me 5 cards total. Could be an option. We could but that could leave up the offer, right? So I don't think I mind that. Blink, right? My thought here is Blink Plagan. That's going to draw 4. Then we'll look at the top 3 and do Ponder. Metamorph, Soul Ring, Reality Chip. I really like Reality Chip. So we'll keep the Reality Chip. So that's 4 or 5. Do I want to keep up an offer? Or do I want to put something like Reality Chip down to keep looking at my library? I think I keep up the offer and the Arcane Denial since I have 2 mana, right? And we'll just pitch out maybe something like the Wall, just because I think we have some decent. Well, we have 3 mana there. I just realized we have that Ornithopter. That would just end up making me draw. We'll put the Reality Chip in. Might as well. Be able to look at the top, which we know is the Soul Ring. But the point is then just 1 for the offer that we have access to. I guess Arcane Denial could have hit anything, right? A little more flexible, but again, the thing I think here with the playtest that's more important is knowing what you're doing fundamentally rather than nitpicking everything our opponents are doing. Because here we're going to play the Soul Ring, right? 3, 6, 8, 9, 10 mana. Omens, draw. Wall of Mist. attack in, drawing me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. Eek has a lot of cards, but the truth is, right, it might. Where do I do the omens? Maybe it's not worth blinking there. I could remove something, right? Blink the omens to draw. Right there we see the ghostly prison. We could attach reality chip and play the ghostly prison. Now we're just in good shape of not being able to be attacked at all. I think that's good for the first playtest. We've set it up. We kind of see our end game. High Lord's going to allow these guys to start attacking and really becoming threats. And then it's just about controlling the board while we kind of ramp the game out. 4-lander here with Arcane Signet, Battle of Bywater, and that Cephalid Face Taker. We'll Temple of Enlightenment on turn 1, seeing the Flicker of Fate. We like that one. Turn 2, we'll get the Arcane Signet down. Makes some sense to get the Face Taker down first, right? For the purposes of having Plagon draw us more next turn, right? When it comes in. So I would go Plagon, drawing 2. Got 2 mana left. I like the Angelic Shield. I like the Blind Obedience, right? Just to stop my opponents a little bit, right? Get a little bit of that slowdown for them. On turn 5, 6 mana, Fell the Mighty, right? Great way to just, nuke a bunch of things. Scuttle Tide can allow us to pitch cards to make a crab. Not a bad way to, get a bunch of low creatures in the ground. I could blink Plagon with Flicker of Fate to draw. Let's do that. Soul Herder. Soul Herder, blink Plagon on the end step. Like the Face Taker, I'm not talking about it just because it's just going to come down to whatever our opponents have. Right? If our opponents have something good, then we copy and attack. It's kind of a non-starter at the moment because it just depends on our opponents. My goal here is to just try to make sure we got another land. We've got 1, we've got 2 now. One side board wipes basically at the moment. As long as we use them, full Soul Herder gets to 3. There's another one in the Interlopers. Wall of Mist, bounce the Plagon, draw 3. So we've got 3 mana left. Propaganda. We can blink Plagon at the end step with Soul Herder, but we actually don't have to. I'll just blink the Wall of Mist. We don't necessarily have to draw. I think we're in a decent shape now. We got the one-sided board wipes. All we're needing really is the draw to get into High Alert and just keep getting the walls down, right? Got the shield, got the Scuttle Tide to start pitching cards. I think we're in a good space here, so we'll move on to the next playtest. Playtest number 3, keep it a 4-lander with Soul Herder, Welcoming Vampire for some draw when small creatures come in, and then Battle of Bywater. So we don't mind this one. We'll go Farmland in turn 1 since it has to come in tapped. Plains down turn 2. This would make sense to put the Vampire in here. Also great because it has toughness bigger than its power, so that'll work for Plagon, even though it's also a draw engine on its own. Because then I'm thinking turn 4 here, you play the Chancery. Pick up the Plains. I was thinking about playing Plagon, but we don't want to do that because then we're going to end up drawing way more cards than we need to. We'll play the Jailer, drawing us a card from Welcoming Vampire, and move here to the next turn. 5 mana now in turn 5. My thought is Plagon. That draws me 2. I guess I run the risk of just losing 2 cards there, though. That's the other worry, right? Is you want to make sure that you're getting all your money's worth. Take her to draw. I could put the Scuttle Tide down, right? And then I could blink one of these 2 the Soul Herder's not down. Not bad, right? And then we can start pitching cards for the Scuttle Tide to make the crabs, right? If we have extra mana. So now here I'm thinking 3 for Plagon. I draw off of Welcoming Vampire and Plagon. So that's 5, right? Man for turn, right? I think I already did it, but That's neither here nor there. That's still three, so I've got either 3 or 4 activations of Skull Crab that I can do this turn. Um, pitch the Fell Money for a crab. I guess I'll pitch Port down for a crab. Play the Talisman. And I think I'll pitch Soul Herder for a crab. Again, the whole point here is just to try to, this is going to be some great draw, right? Now that when we can start getting it to blink, and then right, I think now all we're looking to do is get into the high alerts of the world. So look at the top 3. I guess there's the Flicker. Should we have Displacer Kitten first? We Displacer Kitten first, and then blink this Plagon. We're drawing like 9, right? I think I'm okay with just pondering this turn. I guess we'll draw the Flicker. To draw Signet. Leave up Arcane Denial, I guess. No, I guess we could attack. I could use the mana to attack with something like the Face Taker and make it into its. What I was trying to do was wait as long as I can to blink Plagon, so we have as much mana as we can. So if I flicker this turn, 1 draw off the Welcoming in 8, so I'm just drawing 9. Right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana left, and I've got a grip full of cards, right? That was my draw from Welcoming Vampire, so thankfully we don't have to worry about that. 7 mana. 5 mana. 3 mana. 1 mana. Pitch a couple. So you got the Dusk and the Bywater, but maybe use one of them to turn something in for an attack, and then I would just, on this next turn, just because this is our last playtest, we'll go 1 more turn. I would just battle a Bywater. It's going to nuke the entire board except our creatures, right? That leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 mana. Remember, things came in tapped because of that. If I Kitten plus Bywater, that's 4, 3. I've got 5 mana left, and I would draw 10. Let's just see what we would get into. I guess Basir, right? That would mean that we could then take an attack with everything that isn't a wall and just get in for big damage. And I think that's probably a good place to stop there. But let me know what you think of Plagon down in the comments below. Interesting commander. I think there's a lot more to iterate from it. Like Plagon, drawing the cards. You guys can let me know what you think of it. I'd love to talk with you about it.